The United Nations says it is deeply concerned by reports of the killing of Palestinians as Israeli air and sea attacks on Rafah escalate. Our Jody Jacobs reports from the United Nations in New York.
The United Nations says there are heightened concerns of an escalation in Gaza's southernmost city, Rafah. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, says any incursion on Rafah, in his words, is terrifying, given the prospect of an extremely high number of civilians. Israeli Defense Forces began airstrikes and shelling on multiple locations in Rafah overnight.
What we want is to ensure that anything that happens is done in full respect of international law, in the full respect of the protection of civilians. We will not be party to forced displacement of people. As it is, there is no place that it's currently safe in Gaza.
The UN rights chief has urged Israel to comply with the legally binding orders issued by the International Court of Justice and has said accountability must follow.
You can't send people back to areas that is littered with unexploded ordnance, not to mention a lack of shelter. The situation for us in Gaza on the humanitarian end remains extremely challenging.
Meanwhile, the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization says a growing number of people will go hungry unless the hostilities cease and the population of Gaza has access to food and water.
It's really an almost unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in. We have categories for how we measure acute food insecurity, the IPC phase classifications, and in IPC 3, 4, and 5, which takes us from emergency to crisis to catastrophe. All 2.2 million people in Gaza are in those categories. And again, we've never seen that before.
The Israeli military has confirmed it conducted a series of strikes on targets in Rafah and also reported that 2 Israeli hostages were rescued in a special operation. The Security Council is holding a closed-door meeting to discuss the latest developments. Jody Jacobs, CGTN, New York.